I've seen this idea come up repeatedly in a whole bunch of different circles, and I thought I would try to bring my clarification to it. This is the idea that black people cannot be racist. Now, of course, if you're a white person and some black person has said, "Hey, cracker," and punched you in your eye or something like that, you're gonna go, "Hey, you know, you wanna tell me that guy's not racist?" And consequently, if you're a black person and you've had the Klan chase you down, but you know of no Klan-like group that white people have, you're gonna say, "Hey, white people are racist and black people aren't. We can't be racist. We don't own this. We don't own that. We don't have the power to do this. We don't have the power to do that." And then somebody else, probably a white person, but not always a white person, come back and say, "Well, we have Barack Obama as president now, so there can't be any more white racism. Racism is over." Those are people that have magical thinking. And then you'll have other people say, "Oh, he's just controlled and he couldn't have gotten elected because if the white people didn't like him, he wouldn't have gotten elected." Which is true because in our country, white people are the majority. This is the way I look at it. I will say that if you understand, this is all a matter of degree. Degree. And if we're going to use words as they're intended to be used to discuss the same or similar thing, it is in terms of degree. Now, in terms of a degree, black people cannot be racist. They can be prejudiced, while white people can be racist and prejudiced. That does not mean that a black person cannot do something that is race-based and wrong. But as of yet, black people as a whole in the United States of America, not the world really, but in the United States of America, do not have the power to systemically deny white people things just because the person is white on a large scale. There's no evidence in recent history of there being things like Jim Crow towards white people. If you want to compare prejudice versus racism in a matter of degree, prejudice would be a stream. Racism would be a river. If prejudice were a river, racism would be an ocean. If prejudice were an ocean, racism would be the water system, the whole entire water system from evaporation to precipitation, to freezing to thawing. It's a matter of degree. Now, does that mean that there are not black people who hate white people? There absolutely are black people who hate white people. And there absolutely are black people who do not hate white people. In fact, most black people, when you actually read data from surveys put out by places like the United States Census Bureau and other places that actually do surveys and use math and look at perception tests by people who academically study racism, not those of us who vent emotionally on YouTube, you will find out that typically more blacks have a more favorable attitude towards white people than there are blacks who do not. The inverse, unfortunately, is not true. Now, on the flip side of that, does that mean that every white person hates black people? No, of course not. And there's another thing that I noticed that really irks people. This is from the counter-racism code. And it used to irk me too when I first read that, because I was like, what is this thing about you should suspect all white people of being racist? I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go around suspecting everybody or suspecting all white people. But then I thought about it. I likened it to the analogy of when my car got broken into and they punched out my windows. There was a group of people who were around it around the time who could have broken into the car and vandalized it. I had no proof that they did it. but I could suspect that it was that particular group of people. Now, did my suspecting that group of people allow me to blame any one of them for anything? No, it did not. I had evidence that a crime had been committed. I had the evidence of the broken car and things of that nature. All of the non-tangible evidence, like it having to be towed away, it having to be repaired, and this or that. I don't think I would have gotten insurance money and repairs done for a crime that did not exist. So I had evidence of it. I had the fruits of the action as indication of the action itself. And I had a group of people that I could suspect that did it. But I had no proof that they did. My suspecting them did not hurt them in any way. It did not harm them. It didn't really make me mad at them. I just suspected that they did something to me. So, you know, you can suspect anybody of anything. I have been suspected of a lot of stuff that ultimately turned out not to be true. You know. And when people suspect of me of something and I prove, hey, no, I'm not doing that thing, and I show X, Y, Z, if they still don't believe it, after a while, through my thoughts, deeds, and actions, well, maybe not my thoughts, through my deeds, my words, okay? After a while, they come on board and say, well, I suspected him of X, but I have found that it's not true. Because all I had to do was just demonstrate that I was not what they thought I was. Now, if I can demonstrate in other ways, like I have managed to demonstrate that I am not a stereotype of a angry black male and all these other things like that, I have managed to demonstrate that against people who I suspected had negative attitudes towards me. And I've changed that. So now we have to cringe and cry because there may be black people who suspect that white people could be racist. So nobody can ever suspect that a white person anywhere on the earth is racist. You can't suspect it. I didn't say go around throwing up hate whitey signs and all this other stuff, or see a white man begging for change, don't give him $1. I'm not talking about anything like that. Why can't you suspect? You can suspect all day long. Suspecting something, especially as long as you keep it to yourself, which I really would prefer that you do. Keep your suspicions to yourself until you have proof of something. Suspecting somebody of something is, what's that? That's just something you can do to help yourself. It really doesn't hurt anybody or hurt anything. And when you're talking about a problem as big as racism, where it is the boulder to prejudice's stone, it is the mountain to prejudice's hill, it is the solar system to the planet of prejudice, it is the universe to the galaxy of prejudice, then come on, people, come on. If you want to look at what people mean when they say blacks cannot be racist, but they can be prejudiced, we're talking about a degree here, a degree of power. Nobody's not trying to say that there aren't any bad black people anywhere and that all white people are bad. I think we're all being a little too defensive and we're not stopping to think. And that's all I have to say.